Whew. What's going on, everyone? Let's go for a drive. And let's talk about... Well, we might talk about Bitcoin, but we need to talk about a few other things. The times we're in. Let's talk about that. Whew. Yeah. I'm calling this one Brace for Impact. I mean it. If it was just one thing, I probably wouldn't even say brace for impact. I'd just be like, hey, just be prepared. That's kind of what I was saying in my last video, or one of my other videos. I'm trying to remember if it was the last one or the one before. But there's this, if you know what the word convergence means? It means you've got a lot happening all at once. And as some people are pointing out, everything is happening all at once. And I mean literally everything. I shouldn't say literally. Truthfully everything. Sorry, that was me being a grammar Nazi on myself for a second there. Never mind me. But we really can't even grasp how much is taking place right now, all at once. I don't know where to begin, because there's some of it that's like some people might think it's a little woo-hoo. I'm the type of guy where I am willing to pay attention to the signs of the times. If you know, you know. And if you don't fully understand what I'm getting at with that, let me just put it like this. Things they've just been on a downhill trajectory. They're probably going to get worse overall before they get better. That doesn't mean everybody's individual life is going to hit the toilet. That's not at all what that means, necessarily. Depending, right? Because there have been eras in history where things got so bad that they sucked for everyone, right? But it's always to varying degrees. So I'm not trying to cause anxious feelings or anything like that. But I was listening to what a lot of people were saying. These were clips from recent past, basically. Like, I think that within the last month or so. Unfortunately, there's a lot of talk about, we'll call it civil unrest in America. Now, when I say civil unrest, I'm not talking about no George Floyd riot or something. I'm talking about, I don't want to use key words because I don't want this to get flagged in any way. But we're talking like people getting together for a joined goal that stands to resist or oppose the authorities in the style that is fitting and in line with the Declaration of Independence. If y'all know where I'm going with that, again, if you know, you know. I really don't want to divulge too many details of like that, but I will just put it like this. The near future for America could be violent. Very violent. And violent in both like physical circumstances in certain places, but I think mostly overall financially violent. That's why I'm saying like brace for impact, because I'm just now, like today, I'm just now really grasping how drastic things are becoming. And my wife and I, we have started stocking up an emergency supply, like already, but it's not crazy. It's one of those things where it's like you're good for a long weekend, kind of like Memorial Day weekend. Look at that. But what I'm feeling now is the pressure of maybe we don't have enough stored away, and maybe we're not quite as prepared as I would like to be. And that's something that if any of you are feeling that, one, let me know in the comments, and two, you're not alone, but that also means that's an intuition that you're having that you should probably listen to. And I'm not saying anybody should freak out. Freaking out doesn't help anybody. But I do think that we need to actually take action, not just watch as our world crumbles around us, right? It's never hopeless. There's never nothing you can do. There's always something. There's always something you can do. One thing you can do is buy Bitcoin. Sure, absolutely. Simply because I think that unless there's complete apocalypse, which I don't think there will be immediately. I don't mean to be like doom and gloom on anybody, but I do want to be honest. And while I don't think anything like that is going to happen in the immediate near future, what I do think will happen in the immediate near future is escalation of conflict globally. I do think that's the case, personally. That is what I do think. And so you want to plan accordingly. And when I say like, oh, you could buy Bitcoin, it's not just that. It really is like, it's more so you should probably get your finances in order. Like I was hearing people say, like if you've got crazy debt, you need to get it dealt with so that you can stock up money. And now I'm going to say this though, from an economic perspective, stocking up on money isn't the number one thing you need when you're in the middle of crisis. Or like real crisis. What you need are things. Like you need the supplies. You need things that are useful for bargaining. I can make some suggestions later in the video if you want. I mean, well, not that you can tell me, so I guess I'll just do that later in the video. Because I've done just a little bit of research on that, of like when there has been economic collapse. These are good things to have on hand because they become very valuable to normal people. You want stuff like that. Money, which, like, we're talking currency, we're talking like dollars. Unfortunately, dollars aren't going to be that valuable in an economic collapse. Not just because it's an economic collapse, but because if stores aren't open, where do you spend your money? You don't. You literally find the nearest sucker who's willing to take it off your hands in exchange for something that you actually need and that you're praying that they don't need, and that they're willing to give it to you for green paper. Now, I could say the same thing about Bitcoin, right? A shiny magic internet money, right? So I'm not trying to pretend that it's going to be useful in that type of situation. But as things escalate and it becomes more and more clear what is coming our way and what kind of impact we're going to experience, that's when the money that you're saving up comes in handy. And that's when the assets that you have come in handy, because then you use your money, your resources, your assets to prepare. So for some people that means leaving. That means moving, right? I've talked about that in the past. Sometimes to rescue your financial situation, you need to up and move. Well, sometimes it's not just about finances, sometimes it's about safety as well. Right? Sometimes that's what you got to do. If it means you know exactly what specific items you need to stock up on, and you're like, oh, I don't have enough, even though prices may have skyrocketed because you were saving up, now you can justify, hey, I'm going to use some of my savings to go and stock up on that particular item. Right? It's stuff like that you wouldn't have been able to deal with when you had more information of what was going on, until it was too late. Because then you'd say, okay, well, I gotta save up the money to get that stuff. But by the time you've saved up the money, crisis is already in full swing, and now you can't. Now you just can't get it. It's not even. It's not on the shelves anymore, or the stores aren't even open anymore. I mean, seriously, think of COVID. Let's not forget that everything shut down. It shut down. Now, I was lucky. Okay, I was in a state at that time. I was in Florida. So I was in a state that shut down very temporarily. And then they used common sense and applied their faculties to the situation, and they realized it's actually going to hurt worse to stay closed, to stay shut down, than it will to open up and let people have their freedom and to choose for themselves whether or not they want to stay home. So I got lucky. I was able to go out and about, face mask on and everything, and 6 foot distancing. But I was able to go out and about pretty much anywhere. That was really cool because I'm not in Florida anymore. So I missed that because that was fun. It was good times. So imagine a scenario that is as hefty as that. It's very likely that is what's on the way, either later this year or next year. It's just very likely. And I want you to be as prepared as you can be. Again, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally and spiritually as well. I want you to get your house in order. I want you to be ready. Just be ready. But you don't have to feel 100% ready, but just feel like you're getting ready. You know? Like, getting ready is in and of itself successful because every little thing you do is going to be helpful later on. It's just like when you're stacking sats. Every Satoshi, every little bit of Bitcoin that you stack matters for your future. It's the same thing when you're preparing for a crisis. Every water bottle, every can of canned vegetables or soup or whatever, every single thing helps. So don't downplay the little steps you might take to stack up on stuff. If you literally can't afford anything except one can, that one can be a meal. So don't downplay that one can. And it may be crappy food, but man, when you're hungry, that crappy food is going to taste like a banquet fit for a king. And I want you to be able to enjoy that banquet because you prepared, rather than you missed out on that opportunity and now you're scrounging around through trash. Seriously, like, do I think that everything's going to be like that bad for everybody? No, I don't. But I don't know how bad it's going to be for you specifically. See what I mean? Like, so I'm just preparing you for the worst while I'm trying to be realistic of timing and of just the way things are going. So, what does this have to do with your finance? Hey, I'm not just here to deal with your finance. I'm here to deal with your well-being, fam. You know, I want to help you guys be prepared. I want to help you guys, you know, have a bright future. For me, that's the main reason why I want people to get into Bitcoin, is because I truly believe that it's an escape hatch from a death loop spiral that people are in. And it's a way for you to realize wealth in decades. This is not in the short term, but in decades. It's a way for you to realize wealth that you most likely otherwise would never have been able to realize. But that's long term. At least it's long term until the Fed starts printing money. They start doing that again like they did with COVID. Boy, it won't be long before we have a major spike in Bitcoin's price again. So that's what I got for you guys. I don't want to drag this on any longer. And I also don't want you to feel down or scared. No, you're going to be okay. Listen, you're going to be okay. One, because you're seeing this. And I mean, me personally, I feel like God's putting this on your radar on purpose, right? Like, I feel like you are going to be taken care of as much as you need to. You're going to prepare. You're going to stock up on... Oh, yeah, I promised I was going to say some things to stock up on. Rice and beans. When we're talking about, like, what you need. Rice, beans, lighters, so that you can have access to fire. But lighters are also extremely good for bargaining. So you're going to want extra lighters that you can bargain with people and, trade, offer to people. Or if you want to be charitable with it, you want to be able to provide for people and build trust, build relationship, that's a great way to do it. I'm not going to do this because we're a no alcohol household, but having alcohol on hand, but specifically, goodness, I'm trying to remember which one it was. Was it whiskey? I think it was whiskey, or vodka. Having them on hand, they can be a type of medicine to use for painkiller, but also to sterilize a wound, right? Speaking of which, extra bandages, very important to have on hand. This one's interesting. Extra hygiene products like deodorant, maybe even dry shampoo, stuff like that. Apparently, in economic crises in other countries, what they have found is that people, when they go from showering every day to showering not at all, they just feel terrible. And so that level of emotional healing that people get from being able to take care of themselves per their personal hygiene standards, it's extremely beneficial to people, to you or whoever, but then also that's a huge bargaining chip, because when people have gone 2 weeks without a shower and they just want to feel clean, they just want to smell clean again, these are the kind of times we're heading for. And I'm telling you, I hate to think so darkly of the future. As you can see, I'm a joyful person. I really am. I'm not a doom and gloom guy, but I also am realistic, and I'm also very prepared. I've always been of that mindset. It was drilled into me ever since I was a kid. You need to be prepared. Always be prepared. Always be ready. And that's not a bad thing, to be ready for the worst. And I haven't, even with that mindset, I haven't been forcing, my family to stock up as fast as possible. I am probably going to pick up the pace, though. And that's why I wanted to share this video with you guys. That's why I wanted to let you know, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm recognizing, this is what a lot of people are recognizing. That we are in and heading into some very tumultuous times. So yeah, that's what I got for you. So get out there, stack some canned goods, go get some rice, and stay alive, fam. Stay alive. You got this. Stay positive. Honestly, stay positive. Pay attention to what's going on. Just pay attention. Keep your eyes open, and you'll do just fine. Oh, and you know what? Last thing, water. Please make sure you have water. Can't go without saying that. I love y'all. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.